All right. Looks like we're live. So let's disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump right into this one. I think I need to adjust my camera just a tad bit. I'm cutting off the top of my head, I think. There we go. I think that's a little better. Okay, so let's jump into this here. So the disclaimers, same thing as always. You guys have been here all the time. You already know this. But just in case anybody's new, this is the weekly live broadcast pretty much every Thursday evening. This is where I am. I do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself in the chat. And so if you have questions you wanted to get answered, and I haven't responded to a comment because I haven't been good about doing that lately, jump into the live broadcast on a Thursday evening and we'll get it answered for you. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't really care. Any topic, it's all fair game. It doesn't matter to me at all. Except I do ask that you keep it polite, keep it family friendly. Don't be hateful with anybody. Don't start cussing anybody or calling anybody names. Or, we can have differences of opinions. We can have good debates. No reason to hate anybody for that or be, hateful with anybody. So I just ask that. Other than that, it's like I said, pretty much all fair game. So let's jump into it. We got a couple of people here already. We've got Base Place here. So she says, "Hey Chris, hope your Christmas was blessed. Second like, first comment." Well, thanks, Vernie. Yeah, it actually was a good Christmas. We had a lot of family over. I host Christmas every year, so I did all the cooking. Well, pretty much all. I think, a couple of people brought one or two things, but for the most part, I did all the cooking. Everything turned out pretty good, and we got to spend time with family. What more can you ask for, right? Buck Reynolds says, hello, everyone. Hope all is well with everyone. Everything is good here. Hopefully it is well with you as well. Don says, "Hey, Verna, I have to pass through tonight. I was the first like." Well, thanks, Don. And then says, "Hey, Chris, I hope you had a great Christmas. I can't stay tonight, but we'll catch this on the replay." Well, thanks, Don. I appreciate that. And sorry you can't stay, but hey, go take care of whatever you need to take care of. Joy Guthrie says, "Hello, all from Western Oregon. Good to see you, Joy. Thanks for joining tonight." All Clean Exteriors from Michigan is here. Good to see you. And Andy Rabbit just joined, said hello. Hello to you, Andy. Good to see you. And now we're waiting on comments to come through. Maybe a little, I don't know if everybody's going to be here the day after Christmas. Maybe some people still kind of celebrating their Christmas. Hopefully everybody had a good Christmas here. Everybody that's here had a good Christmas. I don't know if you guys got everything you wanted or not. I got a few cool things. I got some heated gloves, which is pretty nice. Never used those before. We'll see how handy those come in. And new shirt. Got a new shirt. What do you think? Make Orwell fiction again? Actually, I got a couple new shirts, so you get to see them later. But anyway, that was one of them. So Andy says, "Hey, everybody from Southwest Michigan. Hope all had a Merry Christmas." Well, I did. Thank you. Hopefully you did too. Rabbit Homesteading is here. Says, "Hey, all friends. Good to see you. Good to see you too." And then we got Anthony Silva says, "Good evening from Skiatook." Is that right? Skiatook, Oklahoma. Never heard of that before. But good evening to you too. Hopefully you're doing well. All Clean Exteriors says, "When using Little Giant Incubator, any tips for regulating temperature better?" I haven't really had too many issues with temperature. I mean, temperature is going to fluctuate a little bit anyway. It's nothing to really stress about, as long as, you're, for the most part, hitting the target temperature. A couple of things I will say is try to put it in a fairly temperature regulated area. So don't put it like above a heating vent or in front of a window that's open, or, the blinds open where the sun's going to cross through in front of the window and shine down on the incubator. I made that mistake one time. Had my blinds open right there where my incubator was, and middle of the day, the sun going across the sky would go through that window and hit that incubator and heat it up. Hatch rates were terrible. I couldn't figure it out for the longest time, and then finally I figured it out, closed the blinds, and boom, fixed my problem. So, just try to keep it, don't put it somewhere where it's super drafty, like I said, above a heater vent or something like that. That'll help a lot with it. But, really, don't stress too much about it. If, if you got all those things taken care of, don't really worry about it too much, because it is going to fluctuate just a little bit up and down, and that's not that big of a deal. You still should. I get pretty good hatch rates out of my Little Giant. Woodtick says, "Hello, everybody. Happy holiday." Hello to you too, and same to you. Andy Dundas says, "Love the new shirt. It rocks." Yeah, I liked it too. My wife got that for me. It was a pretty good one. Wade's Farmstead from Huron, I think it is, Tennessee. Good to see you. And again, slow comments tonight, or not a lot of chat coming through. Well, we got 21 people here. We should have some chat. I don't ever plan anything out to talk about during live broadcasts. I just kind of rely on the chat to kind of get me through that. And I say it all the time, probably should work on that, but I never do. Verna says, always with any incubator, use a standalone thermometer hydrometer. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad advice at all. I do have standalone thermometers that I use to just kind of calibrate my incubators. I throw them in there to test and make sure that they're actually running, reading the temperature the way it's supposed to be. But I don't usually leave them in there all the time. I just take them out. So I don't worry about that too much. But I'm kind of one that, I just don't stress about those things too much. If I'm having bad hatch rates, then I throw thermometers in there and check to see. Or when I get a new incubator, I throw thermometers in there and check to see how it's running, how it's reading the temperature. Once I know that it's either, if it's off a little bit, I adjust it to where it's, giving me the right temperature inside, even though it may not say 99.5 on the incubator itself, giving me the right temperature inside, then I just let it go until my hatch rates start to fail or start to decrease or whatever. And then I check again. Hydrometers, I don't really worry about the humidity all that much. It's not as important as the temperature. In the wintertime, it's dry here in the wintertime, really dry. I have bad problems with my hands drying out and cracking. I've got little sores on them right now. Not sores, but little cracks on them right now because it's been so dry. And I'll make sure that I add a little bit more water there, keep the humidity up a little bit higher during the wintertime. In the summertime, I usually do pretty much dry hatches until lockdown, and then I just fill up a couple of the troughs in the incubator and let it go. So I don't really worry too much about the humidity. It's not as big of a deal. So Verna says, what does your shirt say? Well, you weren't paying attention. I just showed it off. It says, make Orwell fiction again. And I'm just kidding, by the way. Not paying attention. That's all good. Rabbit Homestead says, my voice is messed up, I think, from dryness. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. It's been awful dry here. Although we have we have gotten some rain over the last couple of days, and now we're no longer in severe drought. We're only like moderate drought now. Actually, we may not even be in drought at all anymore. I think we may have made up for it. So good. Chester Hickman says, good evening. Good evening to you, Chester. Good to see you. Andy Rabbit says, talking to somebody else, but that's okay, just in case you don't see it. Rabbit Homesteading, is your name Chell? Is that Chell? Or something close to that? Don't know. Oh, nope. Real name is Larry. Well, way off. Not the person you thought it was, probably. I had somebody in the grocery store, I guess it was Christmas Eve. I went shopping for groceries for Christmas dinner. And there was some guy like stocking some shelves or something. He didn't work for the grocery store. I don't know. He may have worked for, I don't know who he worked for, but he was stocking some shelves or something. I was in one place, and, I walked by and he said hi to me or something like that. I can't remember what he said exactly, but, a little bit like, how's it going or something. And I talked to him for a second, and then I walked on. Then I happened to go back by, and he asked me, do you have a brother that works here in, someplace locally? I'm like, no, I don't have a brother, only have a sister. And he said, you look just like this other guy. I get that all the time. People saying, you look just like somebody I know, but I have never met that person. But Matt Connell says, good evening. I have quail, been raising for a while, but recently started losing 1 or 2 a day. No rhyme or reason, but all in the same cage. Happened after week 3 to 4, went from 30-ish, and I'm down 10. Not sure why. Never had this issue before. Any ideas? I know quail love to die, but no, that's a good question. And that is something a little bit concerning when you start. I mean, you're talking 3 to 4 week old birds just dying all of a sudden. That's unusual. That's not, I mean, when you have multiples of that happening, you're down to 10. So you've lost like 20-ish. That's concerning. I would be concerned about something like coccidiosis or maybe some kind of infection, bacterial, viral, something like that. If you haven't already, if you lose another one, do an autopsy, check the liver, see if it's got a bunch of white spots on it. That could be something. I mean, it's really hard for me to diagnose, but that's just the one thing that probably the most common that comes to mind. Or bird flu. I mean, I don't know if bird flu is in your area right now, but that could be a consideration as well. I don't know how you would go about testing for that aside from getting like, and I don't even know if you want to do this or not, but getting like your extension office or somebody to come out and test. But if they test positive, they're going to probably wipe out your whole flock. So I don't know. All Clean Exterior says I threw a pop bottle in full of water to create mass temp, and it stayed between 1 degree for 14 days. Then I opened to put in lockdown, and now temps are fluctuating, but I will just leave it be then. Yeah, if you just opened, if you're saying they just all of a sudden started fluctuating after you opened it for lockdown, it's probably just going to level back out. It just takes a little bit of time for that to take place. I don't think it's anything to really worry about too much. Woodtick says, my first hatch is due on Saturday. The wait is unbearable. Yeah, the first couple of times you hatch out birds, it's a little nerve-wracking for sure, but hang in there. Good luck on your hatch. Hopefully you have a great one. Brad Homesteading says, I had a gas station person freak out and showed me her brother who looked so crazy like me. It was scary. Hell yeah. They say everybody's got a doppelganger. I was watching a show the other day about some guy, two guys, I guess. One guy in particular, him and his wife moved to this town. It was in England, I think. Moved to this town, and people started waving to him, and everybody's waving to him, smiling, saying, how you doing? And good to see you, and all this kind. And he's like, man, these people are friendly. And then he started getting people asking him, like calling him by this other guy, Bob. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but calling him Bob. And he's like, that I'm not Bob. And they're like, no, you look just like Bob. And they did. They could have been twins. I mean, they looked almost identical. He moved to the same town as this guy. So now they're like good friends, and they have some of the similar interests and mannerism, not related at all, but look almost identical and have a lot of the same mannerisms, a lot of the same friends or interests, I should say. It's kind of a neat thing. But anyhow, let's see. David Lister says, I finally slogged back in from the mud pits that used to be our chicken run. I'm thinking we should have gone with ducks. Should have gone with ducks, huh? I don't know about that. Ducks are incredibly messy. But wait, are you saying we should have gone with ducks over chickens? I don't think it'd be any better, honestly, but I'm not sure if that's what you're saying exactly. Let's see. We got Pat from hello from Wisconsin, says I'm just starting out, have had good success with chicks. I wanted to start hatching my own. What is the best incubator for a beginner? Oh, there's so many of them out there. It depends on kind of what your budget is. Honestly, if you're looking for like fairly low cost, Little Giant incubators, I've hatched with that for years and years and years and had really good results with it. And they're fairly cheap, like $150 with an egg turner in them. So that's a pretty good bet. And they have fantastic customer service. If something goes wrong with your incubator, they will fix it. They'll send you replacement parts, no questions asked. They're just a really good company to work with. Now I'm using the Brincy, I think it is, Brincy Ovation right now, and I'm having good luck with it too. But it's a little bit of it's a higher priced incubator. So any of those are going to work pretty well for you. I would say stay away from the little bitty tiny, 12 egg incubators and stuff like that, because if you're hatching your own, you're probably going to want to hatch more than like 12 eggs. So I would invest at least, maybe in a Little Giant styrofoam. I guess Farm Innovations is probably good too. I don't really have experience with that, but it's basically the same thing. So those are a couple of them that I have personal experience with. Both work really well. Andy Rabbit says, I freaked Aaron Tippin out when I met him once. When I showed him a picture of my hubby, he said, oh my gosh, that's a 5-year-old version of me. Wow. Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Verna says, Little Giant is your best bet. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Little Giant. They actually work really well. I've been impressed with it. Rabbit Homesteading says, oh my gosh, I've seen the same video of the doppelganger, however you spell it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I spelled it right. I'm not sure how to spell it either, so I don't know if you're spelling it right or not. But it was kind of an interesting video. I just watched it. I thought it was a TV show, but you're right. It was a video. I think it was on YouTube. Verna says, make sure it's forced air one. Oh, good point. Yeah, get a forced air incubator. Don't get a still air incubator. You'll have better luck. Let's see, is that Simon? I don't know how to pronounce your name, but it says, I tried those cookies of yours and your wife posted, of you and your wife posted before Christmas. They turned out beautifully. Thank you. Love from PA. Yeah, those are fantastic for what they are. I mean, they're super simple, but man, they're good. Andy says, LOL, I pity the guy that looks like me. yeah, I always say that too. I'm sorry for that guy. He has to look like me, but Rabbit Homesteading says, agree with ducks versus chickens. Duck meat and eggs are awesome, but so messy. Yeah, ducks are incredibly messy. Matt says, have not done an autopsy, but will if I lose more. I pulled all birds and used ammonia to clean the cage. Haven't lost any more since. Maybe it was a bug. Thanks for the info. Maybe. Let's hope. Who knows? Buck Reynolds says he is saying he should have went with ducks because it's so wet. Well, I guess. I mean, yeah, but hopefully it won't be wet forever. Verna says, not really, Chris. Farm innovations lose their reliability in a few hatchings. Okay, so yeah, I'm not super familiar with them. I just know that they're similar, so I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. I couldn't say because I don't have personal experience with them. I do have experience with Little Giant, though, and like I said, the incubators are great, and the customer service is fantastic. I've called them a couple of times, and every time they just immediately send me a replacement part. They don't ask me how my incubator is like 10, 15 years old. I mean, they're really good customer service. Matt Connell says, I have a Little Giant. It's all I use. Love it. Yeah, it's all I used for years, and it worked great. Scrap 5000 here says, what's up, y'all? Greetings from New York City. Smash the like button. Thank you so much. We got 14 likes in here out of 27 people, so we're doing okay. David says, just being silly, Chris. I'm lucky I didn't fall on my plumage in the mud. Yeah, I don't have that problem. We've gotten some rain, but it hasn't been like too much rain. Excuse me. And today I was like kind of misty out and just kind of damp. It wasn't really like super muddy or anything. So hasn't been too bad. Verna says, I had a farm innovation before I had the Little Giant. So Little Giant has proven to be the best of the two. Well, that makes sense. And again, I'll vote for Little Giant too. I mean, they're great. Oh, one other thing I got, which I'll review later, and I'll tell you guys one thing I got for Christmas. I think I've talked, some of you guys that have been here for a while, you probably know the issue I have with the neighbor's dogs. She's got a Great Pyrenees and a Great Pyrenees Anatolian Shepherd mix. And we live in town. I mean, like right in town. Those are like farm dogs. They should be out on a farm somewhere protecting livestock. She doesn't have any livestock to protect, just these two great big dogs, and they fight with each other. So one of them has to stay in the garage. It's got a little doggy door. It can stick its head out. It's way too small for it to get in and out, but it can stick its head out, and she just rotates them out. One of them gets to stay out in the yard for a while, the other one in the garage, and then she rotates them. But those dogs bark at, I mean, they're great. It's great parent. They're livestock guardian dogs. They just bark at everything that moves, and there's always something moving in town. So they bark all the time, all night long, right by my bedroom window, because my that side of my house is, not 15, 20 feet from the neighbor's yard. Usually it's not a big deal, but sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night for whatever reason, and those dogs are out there, row, 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 and it makes it really hard to go back to sleep. But, as long as, anyhow, my point is, it's been driving me crazy for a little while. So I got for Christmas a bark control. It looks like a little birdhouse that sends out an ultrasonic, like a high-pitched ultrasonic whistle whenever they bark. So we're testing it out. I just set it up today. We're going to see if it keeps those dogs from barking all night long. I'll send a review out on it, once I've tested it. But we'll see. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, I got cousins visiting from Italy. Interesting. Says their father is the man who taught me how to raise rabbits 40 years ago when I and my immediate family would spend the summers in Italy with them. Well, awesome. Nice. Good to have family in, especially from overseas. I am not the least bit Italian. That's one thing. I don't have any Italian blood in me. I'm mostly Irish. But, hey, congratulations on that. I'm sure you don't get to see them all that often. Andy Rabbit says, I like my Little Giant too. Let's see, Rabbit Homesteading says, I can't remember the exact details of brands, but I replaced the knob old style with some digital thermostat on my old incubator and was easy and so much better. It was cheap if you know how to DIY. Let's see, I'm having a hard time following that exactly. You replace the knob old style with some digital thermostat on your old incubator. Well, okay, I think I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about, you probably had like one of the old wafer thermostats where you turn the dial to set the temperature, and it's like, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about there. But yeah, the digital ones are a little bit easier to read for sure. The Little Giant has a digital thermostat on it, so it's we wouldn't need to change it. But yeah, you're right. You can make adjustments to things and DIY stuff a lot cheaper than buying pre-made. Scrap 5000 says, continued. I'll be cooking rabbit cacciatore. Oh, you had to tell me how to pronounce it. I actually knew how to pronounce that. For New Year's for them. I'm so happy. Awesome. I don't think I've ever done rabbit cacciatore. I've done chicken cacciatore before, but never rabbit. David Lister says, Chris, what's your opinion on heat lamp versus heat plate in the brooder? How about a video on the subject? Well, I actually never have used a heat plate. All I've ever used is heat bulbs, but or heat lamps, I should say. The good thing about heat plates is there's a lot less fire risk. There is a fire risk with a heat bulb, with a heat lamp. If it, you don't have it secured and it gets knocked over, it could easily start a fire. But I just think that they provide a better heat, honestly. I can't imagine, especially on a big hatch. If you had a really small hatch, I could see the heat plates working okay. If it wasn't too terribly cold where you got them or whatever. But, it seems like the heat lamps just, I think, would do a better job of heating the brooder as a whole. But I don't know, because I haven't used it. So I don't know how to, I don't know if I could do a video on that, because like I said, I have never used a heat plate before. Phil from Washburn, Missouri says, hey, Chris, I started with a trio of rabbits meat. Do I need to get another buck for genetic diversity for my replacement breeders? If you are looking to raise your rabbits, like raise up your young as breeders, then yeah, you probably do. Because otherwise you're going to be breeding siblings, which is not a good idea. So yeah, if you're looking at, I don't really worry about that too much. I just buy new rabbits whenever I run, whenever I need new breeders. But yeah, if you're looking at raising up your own breeders, then yeah, you'll need another buck to diversify genetics. Simmons says, I'm Irish. I actually grew up with dogs barking all the time. It would help me sleep, LOL. Moved to the U.S. and crickets drove me crazy. Thankfully, I enjoy it now. Yeah. You get used to things, I guess. And like I said, most of the time they don't bother me all that much. I can sleep right through it. Maybe it's just that I'm getting a little bit older. So, the only time it really bothers me is, like I said, if I wake up in the middle of the night for some reason, which, doesn't happen every night, but it does happen occasionally. I'll wake up for whatever reason and, 2 a.m, and the dogs are right there next to my bedroom window, just and it does make it hard for me to go back to sleep. Let's see where we at here. 340 Quail Farms here says, hey everyone, Mount Dora, Florida, checking in. Well, thanks. Appreciate you joining. Hey, look at that. There's a $10 super chat. Says, it's from Rabbit Homestead. Says, your knowledge has helped me, and you for sure saved me over $10. So just thank you, Chris. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. I wish I had more to talk about on that, but $10 super chat, that's nothing to laugh at. So thank you so much. Very generous of you. And now we're waiting on chats to come through again. I know this is probably incredibly boring whenever we don't have chats, because I don't have anything to talk about. I've already told you the stories. Pretty much everything I had, I guess. Are we still going? Are we still live? We didn't lose anybody, did we? Everything just stopped. Verna's asking, what does my shirt say? Again, I've told you, I've shown you. Make Orwell fiction again. That's what it says. That's, you haven't paid attention to me, I guess. Rabbit Homestead says, how was your deer season? Actually, it was the worst deer hunting season I've had in probably 15 years. I mean, it was bad. I didn't see hardly anything. I didn't get, let me adjust that camera again. I think it's kind of dropped a little bit, fallen. Get it there. I didn't see anything that was even remotely worth shooting. Well, I take that back. Very first day I went out, early bow season, I saw one buck that was on the verge of being big enough to shoot. And had it been the last day, I probably would have got him. But I didn't get him. It was that early season. I was like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see, what else I see. I didn't see a single buck the rest of the season. A couple of does, a couple of really small spike bucks. Nothing that was anywhere near big enough to take, for conservation purposes. My cousin hunts the same property, got a fantastic, biggest one either one of us have ever gotten. Fantastic buck. But no, not me. There's still a little bit of time left. I don't know if I'll get back out. But and that's okay. That's why they call it hunting and not shooting, right? So look at that. We got another super chat. This is from you're gonna have to tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Siemens? I don't know. Anyway, $9.99 super chat says thank you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, no worries, never boring. Yeah, that's okay. Verna, you were gone. Yeah, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's all good. Let's see. Pat says, what does everyone use for high protein feed for layers? I use Game Bird Starter. I use it. I mean, it's like a 28% Game Bird Starter. I get it either from Atwoods if I'm, I prefer to buy it. There's a feed store in Neosho, Missouri. M&F, I think it is M&F Agriculture or whatever. Anyhow, that's my best place to get it. It's like a 30% Game Bird Starter there, and it's the cheapest place I can get it. It's like I think it's gone up a little bit, so it's like $18 for a 50-pound bag. That's the cheapest I can get, but that's a little bit of a drive. I mean, it's not terribly far. It's like 35, 40 minutes. It's about 30 minutes. So if I can't, get out, like if I don't have time and do all that, I buy it from Atwoods. It's a little higher. It's like $19 for a 40-pound bag. But especially in the wintertime when I've got a smaller flock, it doesn't really matter that much. It's not that big of a difference. So I'll just go there for the sake of time sometimes and buy it there. But that's what I use. I use that for all my birds from the time they hatch until forever. Verna says, Chris, when are your kits due? They're going to be due about the second week of January, coming up pretty quick, about 2 weeks from now, I think. Rabbit Homestead says, did EHD get you? I don't know what EHD is. I don't know. I don't think it did. I don't know what that is. I should probably, right? Let me see if I can Google that if it tells me. Oh, the epizootic hemorrhagic. No, I don't think that. No, we don't. I don't think we even have that around here. We do have chronic wasting disease. That's kind of an issue, but I haven't noticed that being an issue where we're at. The population, I mean, there's still some deer out there, but and it was just one of those years I just didn't see anything worth shooting. Got some pictures on cameras sometimes, middle of the night, that kind of stuff, but not nothing where I was hunting. Down to Earth Urban Farm says, greetings from mid-Michigan. Still getting knowledge before I consider adding quail. Your channel has been very helpful. Thank you. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. And glad to hear that you're finding the information you need. Cordova Daniel says, hey, Chris, I started watching your videos and got motivated to start raising quail. Just waiting for the weather to improve and I'll start incubating eggs. Well, awesome. Hopefully that goes well. Verna says, Chris, you can try, but never really do. LOL. I don't know what that's in reference to exactly. I'm kind of lost. Kiona says, my deer season was great. My neighbor is a deer processor / taxidermist, and I have an arrangement where I buy any and all no pays. Yum. Oh yeah. So you get free deer in a sense, not free. I mean, you're paying for it, but you don't actually go out and hunt them. You're just buying the meat from the people that don't pay for them. That's not a terrible deal. Siemens says the second way you said it is correct. No problem. Your videos have saved me time. My veg patch is ready to go after watching your prep videos. Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And thanks for letting me know. I'll probably forget that again, though. Well, yeah. David Lister says, we have nearly 3 inches in the last 48 hours. Our small waterfall on the hill behind us is running full force. Well, when it rains, it pours is what they say, right? So, yeah, that's 3 inches in the last 48 hours. That's quite a bit. We haven't had anywhere near that much. And luckily, it didn't rain on Christmas Day because I smoked a ham on the smoker. I did a turkey and a smoked ham. And I smoked a ham on the smoker. I've got a pellet smoker. And it's electric, so, I can't really run it in the rain. So luckily it did not rain on Christmas Day, but it rained the day before and it rained the day after, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and I think most of the weekend. 12 quail with 2 males, this is from Tara, says 12 quail with 2 males, 1 male is getting attacked badly and not sure what to do. Thanks. Well, Verna says you may have to resex your quail. Maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's really anything that's going to make a difference on it there, but, I get, okay. I'm sorry. I got distracted by another comment. Okay. So your male is getting attacked badly. I don't know how old these birds are. I don't know. They're not just recently introduced to each other or something like that. I don't know any of those details. So I'm assuming these are birds that have been raised up together. My guess is that they're probably 9-10 weeks old, somewhere right around in there, because what's happening is probably that they're just now hitting maturity, and that makes them a little bit more aggressive. Hopefully they will calm down. Generally they do over time. I'm kind of curious what kind of birds they are, if they are if they're jumbo pharaohs or if they're like Egyptians or something like that. I've had lots of issues with aggression with quail, but really the least amount of issues I've had is jumbo pharaohs. When I raise jumbo pharaohs, I hardly have any aggression issues with them, unless I'm putting full-grown adult birds together, from different hutches and putting them in one. That always causes some issues. But other than that, hardly ever. But usually if you do get aggression with it, like some kind of fighting that's going on, one of the birds getting picked on, that usually kind of just mellows out over time. Unfortunately, I don't know of a good way to really fix the issue. A lot of times it is your hens that are kind of, because what happens is the males, when they first come of age, they get, they're like teenagers. They're overly excited. They're breeding too heavily, and the females start kind of fighting the males off a little bit and picking on them a little bit. As long as it's not, you say getting picked on pretty bad, but as long as they're not like losing eyes or something like that, it's usually not that big of a deal, and they'll work it out. I don't really know if there's a whole lot of other ways to fix it other than removing birds, but then you're down to not enough hens or not enough roosters, and you're never going to be able to reintroduce that bird again because it's all going to start back up again. So it's usually one of those things I just let it go and let nature take its course and see how it works out. Verna says, all clean exterior says down to earth. We're in mid-Michigan. Talking to somebody else. I'll let you guys do that. Tara Wells says resex. I think what Verna was talking about by resexing them is checking to make sure that you don't have too many roosters. You may have mistaken one for a rooster that's actually, or one for a hen that was actually a rooster. If you've got too many, sometimes that can cause some kind of fighting, but I've never really noticed that really being the issue too much. Verna says, picking on me, LOL, you could try, but never really do. Okay, gotcha. I'm with you now. I understand. Desert Homesteads, what's rain? LOL. Yeah, I kind of felt that way all summer. We were so dry. It was crazy. George says, Hola todos. You spelled Ola wrong, but that's okay. Says, hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Well, thank you. I hope you did too. Good to see you, by the way. Let's see, Rabbit Home. Okay. There, I'm letting you guys kind of talk to each other, trying to skip over. And Bob Cole says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Let's see, Tara Wells says, my quail are 9-month-old jumbo golden raised together. Thanks again. So jumbo golden, yeah. I I'm almost of the opinion, and I don't know if there's any truth to this or not, but it does seem like it to me that all the different color variations are just, you have more issues with aggression with them. I mean, like I said, with jumbo pharaohs, the jumbo wild, jumbo meat maker, whatever you want to call them, it's the same kind of bird. But the jumbo pharaohs, I hardly have any issues with them. But whenever I raised any other color bird, tuxedos, the whites were the worst. What else? Egyptians. I mean, well, the Egyptians not really, but tuxedos or any of those other color strains, I always had issues with them wanting to fight on each other, pick on each other, fight with each other, all kinds of aggression issues. I never had those issues with jumbo pharaohs. So I just don't know if it has anything to do with that or not, but it just seems that way to me. Bob Cole says, question, I have adult birds that have lost feathers on their backs for a while, not growing new feathers. What's up? Probably, well, Verna says, Bob, heavily breeding does that. It could be that. My guess is it's probably molting. Usually they'll get over the molt pretty quick. But you're talking about losing feathers on their backs, probably like most of their back is like there's no feathers there or something like that. Chances are there are, growing new feathers in. But I have a lot of birds that they'll molt and they'll go like for a while with hardly any feathers on their back. It just takes them a while to grow them back for some reason. Most of the time they'll get through that pretty quick, but sometimes it just takes a little while. Keona says, so do you raise your quail for meat or something else? If for meat, which do you find more productive, rabbits or quail? Well, I raise them for meat and for egg production. There's, a couple different reasons there, but yeah, as far as which is more productive, the rabbits or the quail, rabbits are actually technically better at converting feed to weight gain. So they're more productive in that sense. But when it comes to quail, you can hatch as many quail as you want. You can't always have as many baby rabbits as you want, within, and it takes a while. It's 30 days gestation and then, 8 weeks before the rabbit is up to, whereas with a quail, you could set 100 eggs if you wanted to and, get pretty decent hatch rate, have a pretty big group of quail to process in 8 weeks. It takes a little bit more feed to get those grown out as it would compared to rabbits weight for weight. But, if you have a really good doe, you're looking at maybe 10 rabbits in a litter, but you can't guarantee that. And there's nothing you can do to ensure that you're going to get a bigger litter or more litters out of your rabbits. So, it's hard to answer that question exactly, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. Tara says it's mainly the other male attacking the head badly. So Verna says says Tara, if it's the back of the head, they are trying to breed them. Well, that could be it. If it's around the face, if you're seeing them around the face, like the eyes, that kind of stuff, that's usually aggressive behavior. But Verna's probably right. If it's the back of the head, it could just be they're trying to breed. But I think you said these guys were 9-month-old. That's a little bit unusual behavior for older birds like that. Usually you see that with birds that have just come of age. Or now, the other thing could be too, if you just added lights, like if they went dormant, like because of winter time coming on, the days getting shorter, they stopped laying eggs, stopped crowing, and then you added lights and got them. Start the breeding season over again. That could be it, and they'll usually calm down a little bit after a little while. David Lister says we've had great luck with jumbo white wings, little if any aggression. I probably just jinxed myself. Hopefully not. It's good to hear because I've not had really good luck with anything except for the jumbo pharaohs when it comes to aggression. All Clean Exterior says, I had a moisture problem with my birds, lost a bunch of feathers on their backs. Interesting. I've never had that issue myself, but that's something to look at. Andy Rabbit says, if you had to pick just one between rabbits or quail, I would pick quail because we get eggs and meat from them, and quail can take up less space. Yeah, there's truth in that. And also, like I said, just a simple fact that if you want 100 birds, you can set 100 eggs. There's not a whole lot you can do to guarantee bigger litter sizes or anything like that. George says there are 24 cans of beer in a box and 24 hours in a day. Coincidence? I'd steamed some quail using beer over Christmas. Wasn't bad. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of cooking with beer, the beer chicken. It's never been my thing. It's not terrible, but it's not that good in my opinion. Rabbit Homesteading says, I agree with Chris. Hard breeding, which is not ideal, but rabbits are hard to beat. I can't remember the numbers, but it's more than a cow a year if done hard. But I would slack off some for rabbits. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then the numbers, I mean, better than a cow. It's really the feed conversion, how much feed it takes to gain 1 pound of weight. Rabbits, nothing beats rabbit. I mean, they just, there's, well, maybe a Cornish cross, but it'd be close, you know. But nothing really beats rabbit. The 1 pound of feed and how much feed it takes to grow 1 pound of weight. Rabbits are by far way better than cows or pigs or goats or just about anything else. 80 Rabbit says, don't tell my husband I said that, though. Yeah, no problems. Your secret's safe. Bob Cole says, we had super low humidity, no moisture issue regarding feather loss. Well, I don't know then. I'm guessing it's probably molting. I see that happen sometimes. You know, usually my birds will grow back, but I always have just a couple every molt, it seems like, that just take forever to grow feathers back. They look all raggedy and, you know, just kind of ugly for a little while. Eventually they grow back. Verna says, Bob, have you picked up the bald ones? If they feel prickly, then it's molting. If their feathers are trying to come in. Yeah, that could be. And also, if you're, it takes a lot of protein to grow feathers. So if your protein levels are fairly low, you know, that's going to inhibit the feather growth as well. Verna's saying basically the same thing. Increase the protein to help the feather growth. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, Cornish cross is indeed the only thing that beats the, it says bears rabbit. I think you mean beats rabbits. If not for that, rabbits would have been the #1 meat product in the U.S., according to an article in ARBA. Well, I think they may be a little bit, you know, biased because, I mean, it is the ARBA, but, you know, they're probably not far off. I mean, I think the biggest thing that keeps rabbits from being the #1 meat product in the U.S. is that a lot of people don't like to eat rabbits. They think it's just weird, but that's probably because we don't eat rabbits. I mean, it's just the culture, I guess. But, you know, to your point, though, yeah, you're right. It probably would be. Bob Cole says, not prickly. Well, I'm still going with molting. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I've had some birds that have, you know, been bald for most of the summer or most of a season, and they're just fine. It's not an issue. So I wouldn't really stress about it too much. David Lister says, yeah, but you probably won't be able to cuddle a quail. I mean, I guess you could, but there's no fun in that, right? They're not that cuddly. Of course, neither are my rabbits. You don't really want to cuddle up with them because they got these sharp nails. They kick. It's not fun. Verna says, did they start losing their feathers in hot weather? If they were pulled, they won't grow back. Is it? I don't know if that's true or not. Is it? They pull a feather and it won't grow back? I think they would, but I don't know. Rabbit Homesteading says, oh, well, base place texting before or during, same thing as Chris, LOL. Yeah. Down to Earth, Urban Farm says, Jumbo Pharaoh or Jumbo Coturnix quail, which are overall better? Well, Jumbo Pharaoh are Jumbo Coturnix quail. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what you're asking me. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's another one you're looking at, but who knows? Simmons says, LOL, my quail Bernie loves when I give her a cuddle. Well, I mean, there's an exception to every rule, I suppose. Andy Rabbit says, rabbits taste good. If it was bred out of us not to eat rabbits anymore, I think after the Great Depression or what, they just got tired of eating rabbit. Could be. Down to Earth says, or are these the same thing? Thanks, Faye. Now I feel silly. Don't feel silly about it. It's okay. Hopefully I didn't make you feel silly. No, I mean, here's the thing. Jumbo Coturnix, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of Jumbo Coturnix. Jumbo Pharaoh are one of those. They are a Jumbo Coturnix. But there's other, I don't know what, you don't call them breeds. You call them, they're just other color strains, basically, is what they are, that are also Jumbo Coturnix. So there's a whole bunch of different ones to choose from. If you're looking for just meat and egg production, it's hard to beat Jumbo Pharaoh. I mean, they just do the best in my opinion. Um, War, not what, LOL. Oh, it's, oh, okay. Yeah, you're saying you think after the Great Depression or a war, they just got tired of eating rabbit. Well, it could be. Robin Homesteading says, my jumbo seemed normal, so I have got screwed on eggs or not really a what? My jumbo seemed normal, so I may have got screwed on eggs or not really a diff. Well, I don't know what do you mean by your jumbos seem normal? Like they seem small, like they're standard size quail, maybe? I don't know. And Down to Earth Urban Farm says, okay, kind of like broken rabbits, red-eyed white, etc. Yeah, very so. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm with you now. Yeah, you're right. Kind of like the same thing. Um, Andy Rabbit says to Rabbit Homesteading says, I feel the same. I don't care anymore and just do colors now. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are into the different colors, and it's cool. I mean, I like to see all the different color strains too, but I really don't care about all that. So I'm just in it for meat and egg production. The things I like about jumbo farrows, like I said, they're pretty docile. I don't have hardly any issues with aggression or anything like that, and they produce the big. I mean, as big as any other bird as far as the egg size go. They're as big as any other bird as far as body size go, and they're feather sexable. So you can look at them and see which ones are the males and which ones are the females pretty easily. Let's see. Andy Rabbit says he's saying the jumbos are not much bigger than a standard quail, I believe. Yeah, that could be. I mean, Rabbit Home saying says my jumbos were not jumbo. Yeah, I would say that that's probably a breeding issue or a breeder issue, like Verna says. But I mean, also, do you have standard quail? Are you comparing them to that, or you just think they should be bigger than what they are? Standard quail are pretty small. I mean, my jumbos are considerably bigger. But if you're not careful, I mean, it's not. I mean, you got to realize that jumbo gene, that's a mutation. That's a gene mutation. So that makes them a bigger bird like that. And it's pretty easy to breed that back out of them if you're not careful with it. If you're not saving the biggest birds or whatever, I mean, it could be easy to do. David Lister says, my mom used to talk about the jackrabbit drives in the 1930s in Northwest Kansas. The rabbits were eating all the crops. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that could be definitely a problem. I mean, look at Australia. I mean, Georgia's there, right? But the rabbit population there was crazy. It was a bad problem for a long. It may still be. I don't know. Andy Rabbit says it could be the way we feed them too. It could be. Verna says jumbos are 10 ounces at 10 weeks or larger. Well, I mean, ideally, yes. I mean, not all of them are going to hit that necessarily, but that is kind of the rule for a jumbo bird. Andy Rabbit says a lot of standard quail have been bred to be bigger now also. Yeah, well, I mean, if they're standard quail, but they're bigger, wouldn't they be jumbos? I mean, that's all jumbos are, right? They're just standard quail that are bred to be bigger, I think. Rabbit Homestead says, I did. I recorded everything. Weight, incubation. I was detailed. Jumbos I bought seemed the same. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe you got a bad deal on the jumbos. You didn't actually get jumbos. I mean, go with a reputable breeder. If you didn't, I don't know who you got them from. But it's not uncommon too for people just to assume. I mean, just to call everything a jumbo, whether they have them or not. They may not have the best quality, but they're still calling them jumbo birds. I mean, it's kind of jumbo birds are kind of the standard nowadays. In fact, I don't think I've seen standard quail in a long time. So I mean, it's just kind of the norm. So I think everybody just assumes that if they have birds, they call them jumbos for, whether they are or not. So you may have just been a breeder issue, unfortunately. George Kaiser says you can even breed them bigger. My goal are super huge. My wife calls them mini dinosaurs. Oh, my golds are super huge. There we go. My wife calls them mini dinosaurs. Yeah, I've never been able to. I mean, you gotta. It's hard to do that. I had some pretty decent sized birds, but I've never been able to consistently get monstrous birds. I mean, they're jumbos. I mean, they're definitely bigger than standards, but I've never gotten them significantly bigger than that. Andy says we've had pharaohs and Egyptian jumbos both. In my humble opinion, we prefer the pharaohs. I agree. That's my best ones, the ones I prefer as well. Andy Rabbit says some of my celadons are almost as big as a jumbo. Well, I mean, there are jumbo celadon birds. I mean, I don't know which ones you have, but there are jumbos that are also celadon. Celadon is just the gene that makes them lay a blue-green egg. George says, I managed to breed my golds about 20% bigger than the first batch I incubated. I breed the big ones. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I mean, usually when I say breeders, I just kind of pick the biggest birds, but I don't really weigh them out or anything. I just look at them and be like, that one looks bigger, so I'll keep it. I mean, and it is not difficult to kind of. I mean, it's pretty easy to if you're not really paying attention and not really being real strict about exactly which birds you're using for breeders. Pretty easy to kind of start breeding some smaller birds out of them. Rabbit Homesteading says, sweet to George Kaiser. Andy Rabbit says, I got my celadons from Southwest Game Birds. Okay. I mean, I guess they weren't labeled as jumbos, right? I don't know. Ed says, I've eaten cottontail rabbit growing up as a necessity probably is what it means. Yeah, we ate a lot of cottontail rabbit growing up. I mean, I grew up fairly poor, so we hunted, we fished, we supplemented everything we ate. Andy says, no, they were not. So, well, I mean, just because they weren't listed as jumbos doesn't necessarily mean they weren't. I mean, like I said, anymore, I think jumbo is pretty much, I mean, I don't even know if anybody sells standard birds much anymore. I haven't seen them. Don't know why anybody would want them, but like I said, I mean, just because they're celadon doesn't mean they're not jumbo, because there are plenty of jumbo birds that are celadon quail. I've had some before, and you couldn't tell the difference between my jumbo quail and the celadon layers. They look exactly the same. Anyway, George Kaiser says, fishing is good up my way. You can even harvest the beach worms for bait. Yeah, well, I mean, you could do the same thing here, I suppose. We don't have beach worms necessarily, but yeah. Rabbit Homesteading says, Chris, you grew up rich getting to eat the land, not poor, pure. Yeah, well, I mean, poor money-wise, yeah, but I mean, I'm not complaining. It wasn't a bad life. But yeah, it was pretty common. I mean, we ate all kinds of wild game, squirrel, rabbit, frog legs, crawdads. I mean, whatever we could fish, catch, or hunt, we ate. Andy Rabbit says, but they could have been watching on or working on breeding them to jumbos. I don't know. They lay blue eggs. Yeah, I mean, that's what celadon is. They lay blue egg, but it doesn't have anything to do with the size of the bird. There's standard celadon, there's jumbo celadon, celadon's just the gene that makes them lay that bluish green egg. Blessed with Pets is here, says hello. Hello to you. Good to see you. Came a little bit late, but we got a few minutes left, so hopefully you're doing well. Andy Rabbit says, I just wanted blue eggs. Yeah, they were kind of interesting. I had some at one time, and eventually, that's another thing that's a very, that's like a, what do you call it? It's a non-dominant gene. So if you don't keep them isolated and breed them together with other celadons, you lose it. I mean, very quickly. So I've just bred it out of all my birds now. I mean, it's not a big deal. George says, beach fishing is good here. Salmon, bream, whiting, small stingray. Nice. I don't have any beaches nearby because I'm in the middle of America. I'm in Missouri, Southwest Missouri. So there is no ocean anywhere near. But we have a lot of rivers, and we fish the rivers. And there's lake fishing too, but I prefer the rivers, honestly. Blessed with Pets says, anyone near Shreveport, Louisiana, and need 2 pedigree Rex? does. No, not I. Verna says it's a throwback gene. Yeah. Well, I guess that's another way of saying it. And Andy Rabbit says a working program for sure. Yeah, indeed. I guess it probably is. David says, is there any taste or size difference with the Celadon eggs? No, they're just blue. That's it. I mean, the egg shell is blue. That's it. They're no different than any other egg, really. Blessed with Pets says, I picked up my 25 rabbits last Friday. I'm obsessed with my Continental Giant. Is that right? Continental Giant? Doe, she is huge. Nice. And all the Holland Lops are beautiful, LOL. Well, nice. You got a lot of rabbits, I know. Hopefully your breeding issues are fixed. Blessed with Pets says, I don't know how I'll let go of any. Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough sometimes, but you can only do so much. 25 rabbits, that's a whole lot to feed out. Blessed with Pets says, I just counted. I have 60 on the dot. 60 rabbits. That's a whole lot to take care of. George says, think happy thoughts as you eat them. Andy says, nope, no difference in taste of the eggs, just a different look in the basket. Yep. They're kind of cool looking eggs. I mean, they're neat. Kind of a novelty, in my opinion. It's one of those things that, once you've seen them before, it's like, it's not that exciting, really. Blessed with Pet says, haha, I've yet to eat a rabbit. Never eaten a rabbit? Yeah, that's weird. People ask me all the time. I mean, I get people that find out I raise rabbits like, how do you eat rabbit? And I'm like, well, with a knife and a fork. I mean, Rabbit Homesteading says, I don't know if it's the same, but Velveteen Lops did get people out of state to sell for lots of, I don't know, but also grew decent size to eat. Velveteen Lops did get people out of state to sell for lots of, is that money? Lots of money? I don't know. Verna says, I think the shells are slightly thinner when they're blue. That may be true. I don't really know. And George says, rabbits are expensive for the butcher here. $40 for a mid-sized carcass, maybe $25 US. You're saying like if you go to the butcher and they sell rabbit at the butcher shop, yeah, it's expensive to go here and buy one too. I don't know the price exactly, but it's probably $5-6 a pound, maybe a little bit higher, to buy it from like the butcher shop, which is ridiculously high in my opinion. Blessed with Pets says, my friend in Richland, Texas does Velveteen Lops. Interesting. I'm not real familiar with them. Andy Rabbit says, yep, a novelty, just a different look like flower in the garden. Yeah, you're right. Rabbit Homesteading says, sold over 150 each, or eat them if not. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it, right? $150. I'd sell a lot of rabbits for that price. Buck says, I feed out about 100 rabbits a month. Wow, that's got to be expensive. Andy Rabbit says, people would probably eat more rabbits if it wasn't priced so high. I don't know about that. Maybe they would, but I don't think it's the price that's keeping them from eating it. I mean, they're paying pretty close to that price for beef, and beef for sure is at least that price, if not more. And chicken's not real. I mean, chicken's gone up. It's fairly expensive now. Blessed with Pets says, I have 11 Holland Lot bucks. LOL, I really need to cut down on them. Yeah, sounds like it. Ed Selby says, jackrabbit is edible but tough. Quail are delicious and taste like pheasant. Yeah, quail are. I mean, I agree. Quail are like, I say taste like dove. I've never eaten pheasant, but they're all kind of the same family, so I imagine they all taste very similar. George Kaiser says, quail here is about $6 a bird, $4 US. From the butcher. A dozen eggs is $8 or $5.50. Yeah, that seems about what you would pay here at like a butcher shop or something like that. But I mean, that's really high in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, Most people don't raise their own, and there's not a huge market for it here, so it's kind of a novelty thing. So the prices are a little bit higher. Andy Rabbit says, I used to have over 250 rabbit cages before, uh, back when feed was $3.50 for 50 pounds. Yeah, that'd make a difference, wouldn't it? Rabbit Homesteading says jackrabbit is different than rabbit. It is different, I guess. I've never eaten jackrabbit. One thing I will say is I think a lot of people sometimes will say, like, wild game in general is like tough or whatever. And I think people really, run into the same thing when they first start raising their own animals. You've got to let the meat rest for a little while, or it's going to be tough. It may not be the rabbit. It may have been how it was handled or how it was processed that caused that. Buck says, I sell to restaurants in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Nice. I don't know what kind of regulations you have to do to be able to sell to restaurants. And what do we sell? Are you selling rabbits to restaurants? Anyway, Blessed with Pets says my feed is $14.75 for a 50-pound bag, and that's not terrible, but that still comes up to a lot for 25, 30 or 60 rabbits. You said. Andy Rabbit says I sold to pet shops back then. Rabbits sold for around $3 to $5 back then. Yeah, I remember those days. I was just at Atwood's the other day, and they had rabbits for sale. I wanted to say they were $30, I think, for a rabbit. So I thought about actually trying to sell through them because they'll allow, like they'll buy from local vendors and resell. But if they're selling for 30, then they're not buying for much. So I don't know that it'd be worth doing. Down to Earth and Urban Farm says I've encountered so many that are repulsed at the thought of eating a cute bunny. Most animals are cute and tasty. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't get it either. People are like, how can you eat a rabbit? They're so cute. I'm like, well, yeah, but to me, just about every animal is kind of cute, and I eat them. Blessed with Pet says, question, what do you all use? Is Bermuda okay? What hay do you all use? Is Bermuda okay? Timothy is so dang expensive. Bermuda is basically, I don't know, honestly. I don't know that Bermuda would be all that good. I don't know that they'd eat it much. S.O. Swanson says, popping in just to say, time is up. Haha. Yeah, I know. We're in the middle of a conversation, so I do got to wrap this one up, though. So Verna says, blessings, everyone. See you Saturday morning. Well, I don't know if I'll make it. I hardly ever do, but thank you for joining tonight. I appreciate it. George says, quail food is 37 or 25 US dollars for a 20 kilogram, which is 44-pound bag. That's pretty high. That's incredibly high, actually. Let's see. The best way to eat rabbit, this is Ed. The best way to eat rabbit is like chicken pot pie. That is a good way. I agree. Blessed with Pets says, my pet store gives me $35 per rabbit. That's not bad. And Andy Rabbit says, I only use hay for nest box, not for feeding. Yeah, when I feed hay, it's Timothy hay, but I don't know that. You'd have to do some research on that. I don't know that Bermuda is a good hay for them. I'm not even sure they'd eat it. I mean, Bermuda is just Bermuda grass, and rabbits don't typically eat the grass. They eat, some of the other stuff. But Rabbit Homesteading says all domesticated rabbits are bred from American rabbits. European and hares are different. Domestic bucks are all bred from mallards. Muscovies are different. Okay. Oh, well, now see, Desert Homestead says I can only get Bermuda in Arizona and the rabbits eat it. Okay. Well, there you go. Buck says got to get them processed by an approved processor. Okay. That makes sense. I agree. I could see that happening that way. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up for tonight, and should be back on next week. I don't see any reason why not, so we'll see you then. And thanks for joining, and as always, God bless.